Chief for the Policy and Operations Branch within the Division of User Fee Management for CDER. Today's presentation is titled OTC Monograph Drug User Fee Program, or OMUFA, Understanding Fiscal Year 2021 User Fees and Registration. The agenda will cover what is OMUFA, registration and listing, OMUFA user fee types and fiscal year 2021 key dates, COVID-19 hand sanitizer manufacturers, OMUFA fiscal year 2021 fee rates, penalties for failures to pay fee rates, fee payment process, and helpful resources. What is OMUFA? The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or CARES Act, was enacted on March 27, 2020. It included an important legislative initiative that reforms and modernizes the way OTC monograph drugs are regulated in the United States. The CARES Act added sections 744L and M of the FD&C Act, authorizing a new user fee program dedicated to over-the-counter monograph drug activities. We refer to this user fee program as OMUFA. OMUFA is modeled after the successful Prescription Drug User Fee Act, or PDUFA. It is a congressionally authorized program of industry-paid fees to help fund FDA's regulatory activities for OTC monograph drugs. Congress's authorization of the OMUFA program was informed by an FDA industry agreement embodied in a commitment letter under which FDA agreed to performance goals, including goals to review submissions within specific timeframes. OMUFA fees will support FDA's OTC monograph drug activities, which are detailed in Section 744L6 of the FD&C Act, and include various FDA activities associated with OTC monograph drugs and inspections of facilities associated with such products. Some common OMUFA terms are OTC monograph drugs. OTC monograph drug is a non-prescription drug without an approved new drug application, which is governed by the provisions of Section 505G of the FD&C Act. OTC monograph drug facility, or MDF, is a foreign or domestic business or other entity that, in addition to meeting other criteria, is engaged in manufacturing or processing the finished dosage form of an OTC monograph drug. OTC Contract Manufacturing Organization, or a CMO, is an OTC monograph drug facility where neither the owner nor any affiliate of the owner or facility sells the OTC monograph drug produced at such facility directly to wholesalers, retailers, or consumers in the United States. All facilities are required to review and update registration within eDRLS using the current structured product labeling, or SPL, to accurately describe the facility's operations. Registering the facility using the appropriate SPL codes will help FDA determine whether the facility is subject to applicable OMUFA facility fees. Entities may refer to the eDRLS SPL webpage for relevant SPL codes. In March 2017, FDA updated the SPL business operation qualifiers for facilities that manufacture OTC monograph drug products. C131708 is manufactures human over-the-counter drug products produced under a monograph. C131709 is manufactures human over-the-counter drug products produced under an approved drug application. C131710 is manufactures human over-the-counter drug products not produced under an approved drug application or under a monograph. In March 2020, FDA added an additional SPL business operation qualifier for facilities that qualify as an OTC monograph contract manufacturing organization. This code is C170729, or contract manufacturing for human over-the-counter drug products produced under a monograph. Further, on May 4, 2021, the eDRLS functionality was made available to those facilities with the business operations of analysis, pack, label, repack, and relabel. The FD&C Act authorizes FDA to collect OMUFA user fees for fiscal year 21 through fiscal year 2025. There are two OMUFA user fee types, facility fees and OTC monograph order requests, or OMORS, fees. OMUFA facility fee are assessed and due annually for qualifying facilities that engage in the manufacturing or processing of the finished dosage form of an OTC monograph drug. Facility user fee rates vary dependent upon the registration of the facility within FDA's eDRLS as an MDF or CMO. Any person that owns a facility identified as an OTC monograph drug facility, including contract manufacturing organization facilities, on December 31st of the fiscal year or at any time preceding the 12-month period is required to pay a facility fee for that fiscal year. There is no statutory authority under the FD&C Act for any waiver or reduction of OMUFA facility fees based on business size or business revenue. For fiscal year 21, if a facility was identified as an OTC monograph drug facility in eDRLS at any time from January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, the facility was assessed a fiscal year 2021 fee. As stated in the Department of Health and Human Services, January 12, 2021, FRN, persons that entered into the over-the-counter drug industry for the first time in order to supply hand sanitizer during the COVID-19 public health emergency are not persons subject to the facility fee the Secretary is authorized to collect. As stated in FDA's March 26, 2021 FRN, the term hand sanitizer commonly refers to consumer antiseptic rubs. Because the HHS notice referred to persons that entered the over-the-counter drug market to supply hand sanitizer products in response to COVID-19 PHE, we are using the same terminology, hand sanitizer products, to refer to OTC monograph drug products intended for use without water as antiseptic hand rubs or antiseptic hand wipes by consumers or healthcare personnel. Our use of the term hand sanitizer products in this notice to refer to antiseptic hand rubs and antiseptic hand wipes intended for use by consumers or healthcare personnel does not alter any existing regulatory distinctions between these products. As explained in FDA's March 26, 2021 FRN, FDA will not assess OMUFA facility fees upon those firms that first registered with FDA on or after the January 27, 2020 declaration of the COVID-19 PHE solely for purposes of manufacturing hand sanitizer products during the PHE. If a company was manufacturing hand sanitizer prior to January 27, 2020, declaration of the COVID-19 PHE, the fiscal year 2021 facility fees would apply and were assessed. If a company were to manufacture hand sanitizer in addition to other OTC monograph drugs, fiscal year 2021 facility fees would apply and were assessed. Hand sanitizer manufacturers are not subject to the OMUFA facility fees, but are still subject to other applicable FDA requirements. FDA will continue to use its regulatory compliance and enforcement tools to protect consumers, including from potentially dangerous or subpotent hand sanitizers. The fiscal year 2021 OMUFA facility fee rates were as follows. Monograph drug facilities or full fee were $20,322. Contract manufacturing organizations or CMOs pay 2/3 of that, which accounted for $13,548. Penalties to failure to pay fees. For OMOR fees, if a person owing fees fails to remit the appropriate payment when submitting an OMOR, that OMOR shall be considered incomplete and shall not be accepted for filing. For facilities, if a facility does not pay the annual facility fee within 20 calendar days of the due date, the agency will place the facility on a publicly available arrears list. Additionally, all OTC monograph products produced at that facility or containing an ingredient manufactured at the facility shall be deemed misbranded. Further, OMORs will not be accepted from any persons owing fees in arrears from failure to pay the OMOR or facility fee, and OTC monograph drug meeting requests from persons owing fees will be denied or canceled. The fee payment process is similar to other user fee systems. Industry accesses the user fee system, an application within the FDA's user fee system, to fill out an OMUFA user fee cover sheet to initiate the payment process. It provides specific information for each fee type, for example, the FEI of the facility on the cover sheet. Submit a copy of a signed cover sheet to FDA for OMORs. Pay the appropriate fees after completion of the cover sheet. Payment must be made in U.S. currency from a U.S. bank by either pay.gov, using automated clearinghouse electronic checks, or credit card payment. Those do have a limit of $24,999.99. Also, you could use a wire transfer. Some helpful resources to consider when reviewing this presentation or others is the OMUFA cover sheet and payment information, the OMUFA user fee webpage, where you can sign up for a listserv to receive important user fee updates for OMUFA, the email for the Division of User Fee Management for questions about refunds, appeals, reconsiderations, or the arrears list. And lastly, the website for OTC monograph reform in the CARES Act.
Thank you for the great presentation. In our next session, we'll learn tips, techniques, and common mistakes with submissions. Our first speaker, Tasneem Hussian, PharmD, is a pharmacist with the Drug Registration and Listing Branch in CDER's Office of Compliance. Since joining the FDA in 2016, she's worked extensively to enhance the work of the compliance program. Our second speaker, we have the pleasure of welcoming back Troy Koo. And rounding out as our third speaker for the session, we welcome back Paul Loebach. Please join me in welcoming our next panel of speakers.
Hello everyone, my name is Tasneem Hussian, and in this section we'll discuss common errors with repackaged or relabeled drug listings. We'll start with some definitions, then we'll provide you with some stats. We have a few regulations pertaining to repackagers and relabelers, and then we'll discuss some of the common errors we see with these firms. Repack or repackage means the act of taking a finished drug product or unfinished drug from the container in which it was placed for commercial distribution and placing it into a different container without manipulating, changing, or affecting the composition or formulation of the drug. A repacker is a person who owns or operates an establishment that repacks a drug or drug package. The term includes both domestic repackagers and foreign repackagers. And this is found under the definitions section 21 CFR 207.1. Relabel is defined as the act of changing the existing label or labels on a drug or drug package, or changing or altering the existing labeling for a drug or drug package without repacking the drug or drug package. The term does not include the addition or modification of information affixed solely for purposes of delivery to a customer, customer identification, and or inventory management. Then a relabeler is a person who owns or operates an establishment that relabels a drug. And this is also found under 21 CFR 207.1, where all the definitions are. Since we're talking about repackages and relabelers, it's good to review these two terms also. Source NDC is the NDC assigned to each drug received by the registrant for repacking or relabeling, with the exception of medical gases. Each such NDC must be associated with the corresponding NDCs for repackaged or relabeled drugs. You'll find this under 21 CFR 207.53. The source drug is the original drug which is intended to be repackaged, relabeled for commercial distribution. As you see, we have over 1,200 registered establishments that are repackagers and or relabelers, and over 63,600 plus listing submissions from these firms. That's quite a lot of products. The term manufacturer, as used in Section 510 of the FD&C Act, includes repackaging and relabeling. So all the same requirements that are in place for the drug manufacturer also apply to repackagers and relabelers. These firms must review the regulations pertaining to them. The registration requirements are under 207.25 and 207.29, and 207.53 especially includes the listing requirements for repackagers and relabelers. And this is the link to 21 CFR Part 207. With so many products listed by these firms, there's a potential for many errors, and we in fact have found a lot of problems with repackaged or relabeled products with our surveillance projects and our focus reviews of the repackagers and relabelers. We've sent many of them deficiency letters and created compliance cases, and some repackagers have also received untitled letters, and some have received warning letters due to their various issues. It's important for us to make sure that the data that they submit to us is accurate, so here are some of the errors we see very often. Let's start with the incorrect or inappropriate use of the application numbers. We've seen some repackagers use incorrect application numbers in their listings. This is seen in many kit listings by repackagers. These kits include the application number assigned to a different drug, which is a drug component or part of that kit. So this kit is a different product, different finished product from the components within that kit. And if this kit itself has not gone through the review process and the approval by FDA, then this kit is an unapproved product. So the application number that belongs to the drug part within that kit should not be assigned to this kit. And another example is when a repackager references a discontinued application number in that listing. Here's an example. In the SPL under the marketing information, this firm is referencing this NDA. Just for example, this NDA number that we're using here is 012345. And when we look at the Orange Book for this application number, you can see that it's discontinued marketing status. We found many repackagers or relabelers will incorrectly cite the source NDC on the label images and in other parts of the labeling, such as the House Applied section. They have the source NDC instead of the repackager or relabeler's NDC. Okay, so the NDCs here are just for example purposes. And we see in this slide here, this is a part of the SPL where it shows you where the item code is, where the listed NDC is, and where the source NDC is. The source NDC is always found within parentheses next to the listed NDC. And in this example, we're just using made up numbers here. So let's say the listed NDC is 11111-1111, and the source NDC is 22222-222. So this is a slide of a relabeler's House Applied section. So we see that the NDC here is of the source, which is 22222-222, when in fact it should have been of the relabeler, which would have been the 111111111. Another common error is mismatched package quantity between the labeling and the SPL. In their drug listings, the repackagers will include the source listings quantity in the label image, but the SPL package section has the repackaged quantity. This can be confusing and misleading. As you can see here in the label image, the quantity shown here is 500 tablets, and this has likely been copied from the source listing. And then you can see in the packaging section is the repackaged quantity. So the lack of updates in repackagers or relabelers listings after the source drug listing has been updated is a problem. Repackagers and relabelers, like all other registrants, are required to submit updates to the labeling or listing data at a minimum twice yearly in June and December. And just as it is for all registrants, if no changes have been made to the data, then the repackagers and relabelers must also certify by submitting a no changes certification SPL between October 1st and December 31st each year. Now, having said that, there may be some other update requirements which from a regulatory perspective supersede the listing requirements. The main example of this would be some major labeling updates, especially when it relates to patient safety. For example, when a black box warning has been added to the source drug listing, or when an NDA labeling is updated to emphasize changes in the warning section or change in dosing for a drug, then it's imperative that the repackagers who are using that NDA drug to repackage also update their labeling as required by the source drug application. If you claim your repackaged or relabeled drug is marketed under the same marketing authorization of the source drug, then you're bound to follow the same requirements within that drug approval. That's the business type you choose. That's the due diligence you're expected to follow for all your drug listing and labeling. When a source drug is discontinued, some repackagers keep using the discontinued drug to repackage from instead of choosing a different or active product. Some repackagers do not include the complete content of labeling sections. What is content of labeling is explained under 207.1 and under the labeling requirements, which are found under section 201. Repackaged and relabeled prescription and OTC drugs are required to submit the content of labeling as part of their listing requirements, and you can see that in 207.53 and part D1 and D2. So this slide shows the example where they have not included all of the content of labeling sections. You can see that they only included the house supplied section, the carton label image, and then the SPL starts. And the rest of the content of labeling is missing. The inappropriate use of proprietary names by repackagers and relabelers can lead to errors. Remember that the proprietary name of a drug can be the intellectual property of an applicant, and it falls under the trademark regulations, which is outside the purview of FDA. So you may not be able to apply the same proprietary name to your repackaged or relabeled drug unless you have an agreement with that applicant and of the source drug. Even though the inclusion of the proprietary name might be required in CDER Direct or other submission tools, if you don't have the proprietary name or you don't have the right to use the proprietary name, you'll have to include the drug's established or the non-proprietary name in that field. Mismatched or incorrect information in the carton or container labeling of a repackaged or relabeled drug can also lead to medication errors and safety concerns. For example, if you include a different product name entirely in your SPL from the one that appears on your JPEG image of the carton label or labeling. So here are some useful guidance documents available. These may be helpful for all manufacturers as well as, of course, the repackagers and relabelers to review. So in summary, if repackagers read and understand the regulations and requirements for registration and listing, and they train their staff who submit the listing data to avoid the common errors and to maintain updated internal SOPs, and if they follow the necessary updates, then you can avoid the FDA enforcement actions. So in closing, I can leave you with this final thought here. Taking a little extra time the first time will save us all time later. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please let us know.
Hi, this is Choi Koo again. This time I'm going to show you how to submit a kit listing. So what do you need in kit listing? You need an NDC for overall kit, an overall kit manufacturer, a content of labeling for overall kit, and parts as appropriate. Parts for all drugs and non-drug parts device, for example. And you need to complete a package section for overall kit and each part within the kit.
Next, I'm going to show you how to submit a kit product using CDER Direct. So the process are exactly the same as you would submit a regular listing. Okay, you click on product listing and certification, create a new, and create new product listing. For this demo, I'm just going to select the human OTC drug labeling. This applies to you if you apply listing a hand sanitizer. But since we're not doing a hand sanitizer, I'm just going to hit cancel. Continue. So these are the fields that you have to provide, okay? So let's change the effective date to today's date, which is 13. And then the labeler name, I'm just going to make something up here. Label done again, I'm just going to make something up here. Sure. Put my name here. Okay, and then you have to provide manufacturer information. And then I'm going to make something up here too. Business operations, going to be a manufacturer. And the product NDC, this is the NDC for the overall kit. Okay. Again, I'm just going to make up something here. Now that I'm done, I'm going to hit save. All right, so that's done. Now I'm going to add my product. Now let me go back to this. If you have multiple manufacturers that you would like to include now, again, you will follow the same step. Just add a supplement and then go through the same process. You can add as many as you want. Okay. Now click on Add Products. So this one, let me see, again, the product NDC, this is the overall kit NDC, okay? So I'm just going to use 1, 2, 3, 4. And proprietary name, I'm just going to make something up here. And then for the non-proprietary name, I'm just going to use acetaminophen. And this is not a DA schedule, so I'm just going to leave it blank. And then for the dosage form, see what happened. Right now, you see the ingredient section, right? Once I select kit, ingredient section, it's gone, replaced by the parts. Okay. So since this is a kit, I don't have to select the route of administration. So I'm just going to leave it blank, and then I'm going to select active for my marketing status, and then marketing stat date. I'm going to select today's date, and then for the marketing category, it's going to be final, OTC final. Again, I'm just making some of these up here. Okay, 3, 4, 1. Now I'm going to add my first part. So for the first part, let me see, part quantities. So these information have to match with the packet section. Okay. So for now, I'm just going to make something up here. 325. And then 1 for the denominator, and then the units measure, I'm just going to use 1. If you're using a part that have an NDC number, this is where you would enter the NDC number, okay? But since I'm not using the NDC, the part that doesn't have the NDC number, I'm just going to leave that field blank. And then my proprietary name is going to be, my first part is going to be, I'm going to call it nighttime. If I could type here, and then non-proprietary name is going to be the same here. Again, I'm not using a DEA schedule, so I'm just going to leave it blank. In the dosage form, let's see, I'm just going to use Capt on this one. And for the part, you have to select your route of administration. Okay. Since this is capsule, so I'm going to select oral. All right. And then the marketing status, I'm going to select active, and marketing start date, I'm just going to use today's date. Again, marketing category is going to be OTC final. For the part number is 341. Now I'm going to add the ingredient for my parts. So the denominator is going to be, let's see here, it's going to be 1, and my unit mass is going to be 1, and my type is going to be active ingredient. Active ingredient is based on strength. And then unit name is going to be the same here. So this is the one here. What happened? Oh no, that's not good. Yeah, that's not good. Let me see. Alright, so let's try it again. I'm not sure what happened there. There you go, much better. And then for the strings will be 325. And the unit measure, I'm just going to use NG. And this is the same, so I'm going to check that. Now that I'm done with my ingredient, I hit save. So that's how you add the ingredient. You know, obviously you're going to need to add more. You will follow the same step. Okay, add the ingredient, follow the same step. So the synthesis, the oral for the route administration, I have to provide the characteristics values. There are 5 different values for the characteristics. So you have to complete all 5 of them. You cannot leave any of them blank, because you will get an error when you try to submit it. So the first one I'm going to select is the color. Let's see where the color is. And then I'm just going to call, I don't know, blue. And then I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to do add the next one. This one's going to be imprints. And the values, again, I'm just going to make something up, P30. Save. There's 2, so we got 3 more to go. And then scores. And select 1. If you're not sure of the value, you can click on here and point the mouse here and click on it. It'll tell you what it means, all that stuff. Then I'm going to save. Now I got 2 more to go. Click on that. Now the next one is the shape. What I want to show is capsule, so I'm just going to select capsule. And then add 1 more. And this is the size, this is the left. And I'm just going to call it 20. Save. Now I'm done with the characteristics section. Next, I have to provide the packaging information. So for the packaging, since I didn't cite the NDC number for this part, so I don't have to provide the packet NDC here. But I do have to select the packet type. So I'm going to try to do a 2-level for this one. Quantity is going to be 1. It's going to be 1, and this is not a combination. And then I'm going to add the outer package. My outer packet is going to be, packet type is going to be carton. And quantity is going to be again 325. And the units and measures 1. And that's it. I'm done. I think I'm done with this section here. Now I'm going to save it and see what happened. Yep. So now my first part is complete. And I'm going to save my first part here. Now to add the second part, you will follow the same step, and one after and an after. And many of you need to. So that's, you get the idea and you understand how to add the part. Now next I'm going to have to provide the overall packaging information. So for the overall, since I have assigned an NDC for the overall kit, I have to enter the packet NDC here. So my overall NDC was 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and then packet code can be 01. It has to be 10-digit number. And then for the packet type, since this is a kit, so I'm just going to select kit. And then the quantity is going to be 1. Unit of measure is going to be 1 as well. And this is not a combination product. And then for active, it's already active, and then mark the date today. You can change the date, whatever date you like, or whatever date that the kit's going to be on the market. I think I'm done here. I'm just going to hit save here. So that is it for the data element section. So now I'm going to say my products. Last but not least, you have to provide a content of label. Okay, certain products require certain content of label. I'm just going to show you one of them that require almost every single product that listing, and that is package principal. Okay, and then for the date, I'm just going to set 13, and then obviously you have to upload the image file. Once you upload your file, you have the references to the image file. To do that, you'll point it right here. As you see it say insert an image file. You click on that, and then it will open a box where normally you will have a file in here. And you select the file there, and then you give an image tag name, whatever name you reference to, and then hit OK, and then the image file should appear right in here. Okay, and that's how you reference the image file. Once you're done, just save the section. Now that you're done, what you want to do is, instead of hit submit SBL, you want to do a save validate. This feature is quicker. It checks for any error, technical error that you have. If for some reason you have an error, or come back, you just click on the go to error and see what it is, and try to correct it yourself. If you need help, you can reach out to us. But if it come back and say submission's ready, you can go ahead and submit SBL. And that is how you submit a kit product using CDER Direct.
Again, if you run into any issue, while you're doing this, feel free to contact us. We're happy to help. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you. Good morning. For those who just joined, my name is Troy Koo. I'm a technical information specialist. I just want to talk a little bit about the override request and provide a few tips from the SBL office. So when it comes to an override, you probably think it's easy as a few clicks and it's done, right? That is not the case at all. Here's why. Manual overrides are difficult and time-consuming, but it is necessary sometimes to allow certain corrections to be made to the record, right? However, when you request for an override, you're asking to bypass all the business validation. And on top of that, the entire SBL file must be reviewed by the SBL office so they can compare to the period version to prevent all the errors from being introduced. So it's difficult and time-consuming. And that's not to mention if you're providing incorrect or incomplete data in your override request. It can cause significant delays in processing. Here is an example in one result from provision of the wrong quote ID and submission ID metrics. This is just one example to show you the amount of time that used by the SBL office. And each time the SBL team have to look up record or waiting for correct data to be emailed, process delay for the current file and potentially other in the queue as well. Here are the common cause of delays in processing. Number one, you're not providing all the arrows in the SBL file. You have got to provide all the arrows, so when they review your SBL file, all the arrows should line up and shouldn't be any discrepancy. Number two, the core ID and the submission ID is not like a 3 or 4 digit long. It's long. So do not screenshot the core ID or the submission ID. When you do that, they cannot be copy and paste. Number three, if you have already submitted a request and would like to find out the status, please send them an email. Do not resubmit another request. It will only delay your request even longer. Number four, make sure the email subject line is related to the content of the email messages. Right? Number five, please ensure that the carton or the container label is clear and readable. We understand mistakes happen, but it's best to avoid the need for an override in the first place. And to do that, double check your data before submitting it, even if you have to check with someone else in your company. And you should always check the ingredient and the strength and make sure there's no typo in proprietary and non-proprietary name. And make sure that you're using the correct NDC number, so that way you can avoid for an override. I hope this helps, because it will help us. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hello once again. I am Paul Loebach, and this brief presentation was developed in collaboration with FDA's Office of Combination Products. To that end, in brief, our goal for this presentation is to help registrants submit accurate and compliant listings that can facilitate engagement with FDA. Combination products are a separate legal category of medical products. The 21st Century Cures Act created a duty to identify combination products when seeking FDA action, and that identification can be accomplished at the package level within a drug listing. So what are combination products? Well, there are 2 or more types of medical products combined together. It can include a drug and a device, a biologic and a device, a drug and biologic, or even a drug, device, and biologic. Now, these combination products can be divided into 3 categories. Single entity combination products are articles that are chemically or physically combined, like a pre-filled injector, a filled IV bag, or transdermal system. Co-packaged combination products are products in the same package, like a first aid kit, surgical kit, or even a toothbrush boxed with toothpaste. Cross-labeled combination products are certain but separately distributed products for combined use, expressly related to each other through the labeling. Now, it's important to remind you that combination products are a distinct legal category from drugs, devices, and biological products. So how can you tell if your product is a combination product? Well, you can visit the Office of Combination Products webpage for examples and definitions of the different types. Factors to consider for whether your product qualifies as a combination product can include whether there are components of the product that assist delivery or application. Is there an implant that holds the drug? Are there associated electronics or software? Are there moving parts or specialized connectors? Is there anything included in the package that could be sold separately as a device? Maybe there's information in the labeling or product description that specifically refers to a device type or name. Maybe there is both a drug and a biologic in the product. For example, an antibody-drug conjugator. So it should be clear for recently approved NDAs and ANDAs, as sponsors must identify the combination products on the 356H. But if it is unclear, and particularly for older approved products or products not subject to pre-market approval, feel free to contact the Office of Combination Products at combination@fda.gov. So how do you designate a combo product? Within the package data entry screen, CDER Direct offers a convenient drop-down list from which to select. There are 10 different codes, but the default within CDER Direct for new package records being created is always Type 0, not a combination product. Once again, if you need assistance in selecting the appropriate code, you can visit the link on the slide. This link is also available within the user help for the package data entry screen. Just click on the underlined label name for the field. In case the screenshot from the previous slide was a little too small to see all the different type codes for combination product, I've included this screenshot from the SPL website showing all the available SPL acceptable terms for combination product codes. Here are some important notes to remember when creating your drug listing for a combination product. For a single entity, drug device, or biologic device combination product, select the device type from the packaging type drop-down menu. For example, a glass syringe, a plastic syringe, or inhaler. For a co-packaged drug device or biologic device combination product, select kit for the dosage form and then identify each device included in the kit as a component or part of that kit. For cross-labeled drug device combination products, complete drug listing is appropriate for this constituent part in packaging. The product and package information for the device should be included in a separate listing for that device facility. I hope you found this presentation helpful. Combination product designation doesn't apply to everyone. However, if you think it may apply to your product, feel free to visit the FDA's Combination Products webpage or contact them at combination@fda.gov. Remember, the complete list of combination product codes and definitions can be found on the Combination Products webpage. If you just need to check out a list of the available codes for use in the SPL file, you can find the list on the SPL website. Thank you, and have a good day. Once again, hello. I am Paul Loebach, and I'd like to briefly identify for you the top 5 types of errors that the Drug Registration and Listing Branch encounters as we review the data. My intention with this presentation is not to call anyone out for wrongdoing. On the contrary, I'm hoping this presentation serves as a gentle reminder for each of you to review your data before you submit it. And if you can specifically review your data for these common errors that we find on a regular basis, you'll save both yourself and the FDA a lot of time and effort. First, a look at the data. I'm sure quite a few of you can attest that the FDA has quite an extensive and robust set of automated validations that trap for errors before they can be submitted. Nonetheless, there are still things we cannot program for, so errors can still get through. In a recent review of a random sample of deficiency letters issued by the Drug Registration and Listing Branch, 5 common types of errors seem to dominate the landscape. They are incorrect strength, incorrect or missing active ingredients, incorrect NDC, incorrect or missing DEA schedule, and incorrect or missing establishment information. We're going to take a quick look at each of these to give you an example of what we find in the data. For an example of incorrect strength, we have a toothpaste here that states its strength of sodium fluoride as 0.25%. But the drug listing data shows 0.25 milligrams in 96 grams. I won't bother doing the math on screen, but that ratio does not equal 0.25%. Please check your math and check your unit of measure to ensure that it matches your product. Similarly, for an example of an incorrect or missing active ingredient, we have a first aid ointments label showing 4 active ingredients. But the drug listing data shows only 3. Lidocaine is missing. A simple double check of the label and the drug listing data to see if they match would have prevented this situation. Now, and similar to our previous example, making the correction requires either a new NDC number to be assigned or a request for a manual override. There are multiple reasons why a company may have an incorrect NDC in their drug listing, all of which I've combined into this one category. Here, we have a hand sanitizer wipe with a product code of 911. But, and you can say it with me, the drug listing data shows that the product is listed with an NDC product code of 912. Now, as I said, there are a number of potential causes for incorrect NDCs. They can include a contract manufacturer displaying the client's NDC on the label it included. Remember to remove it before submitting. It might include incorrect configurations. Some companies get the 541 versus the 532 configurations mixed up. There may be a product or package code mismatch, like we have in this example, or there may even just be an incorrect assignment of a product or package NDC. For instance, a package code for a carton of vials is printed on the individual vial. This one isn't applicable to all drug products, but it happens often enough that it warrants some attention. Here, a methylphenidate product properly displays the DEA schedule in the labeling and even on the carton. But the drug listing data shows that whomever created the SPL neglected to add it in the data elements. Now, this was likely an oversight. However, if you are ever unsure of your drug product's DEA schedule classification, you can check out the DEA's Controlled Substance Act website. For our last category of error, I don't have any labels to show you because we don't always compare this data with the label. But I can remind you of common reasons why establishment data can be considered missing or become incorrect. The registration of the establishment may have expired since it was first entered. Maybe there was a change in the manufacturer or the addition of one. Maybe the establishment is a distributor only. If you're a distributor submitting your own drug listing, do not register and put yourself down as the manufacturer just to fill out the form. All you need is the name and DUNS of the real manufacturer or manufacturers making your product. And finally, an inspection sometimes reveals that other establishments in the supply chain are not included in the listing. For instance, there might be an API manufacturer or an analytical lab not displayed in the listing. I hope these examples have raised your awareness to errors that we here see all the time. And so, to summarize with a few reminders before you click Submit, ask yourself, does your strength match what's on the label and carton? Does your active ingredient list match what's on the label? Does your NDC number match what's on the label? Is your drug on the DEA Controlled Substances Act schedule? You can check it out at DEA.gov. And when you review drug listing data, always remember to update the establishment section. Thank you for listening, and thank you for doing your part in preventing and eliminating errors.
Thank you for the great presentations, and we look forward to your questions for our speakers in the next Q&A panel. In our next session, we'll learn about the compliance program, covering an overview of registration and listing compliance and addressing inaccurate submissions to the agency. Our presenter in this session is Leyla Rahjou-Esfandiary, PharmD, who's the team lead on the Data Quality and Compliance team, which monitors registration and listing data compliance. She started her FDA career with DRLS in 2008 and later helped create the DRLS compliance program in 2015. Please join me in welcoming Leyla Rahjou-Esfandiary.
Good afternoon. Thanks again for joining our 2021 CDER Direct workshop. My name is Leyla Rahjou-Esfandiary, and I'll be talking briefly about our drug registration and listing compliance program. In this presentation, we go through the compliance program overview. We look at how a compliance case progresses. We look at some of the current registration and listing data in our database. What is our general approach, and what are some of the compliance projects that we have been working on? And we close with some helpful tips and links. As some of my colleagues already explained, the regulations pertaining to registration and listing requirements are included in Section 510 of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act and are detailed in 21 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 207. In a very brief overview, our compliance program was initiated in 2015 with a mission of having a robust and accurate registration and listing database. And it consists of many different phases. We start with our surveillance projects to find those deficiencies. And then once we find a deficiency, a compliance case is created against the data, and the deficiency letter is sent to the registrant or the labeler, depending on if we have a registration case, a listing case, or a labeler code case. If there are no actions taken after 30 days, the data is removed from the public sites. That includes the NDC directory for your drug listing information and drug establishment current registration site for your establishment registration information. If after we send that removal notification to companies, there are still no actions taken, we enter the final phase of our compliance case. That is when, depending on the severity of the case, we move forward with an untitled letter, warning letter, or inactivating all your registration, listing, or labeler code data, depending on the severity of the case. In this slide, you can clearly see how you are in control on how our compliance cases progress. In the first case, we have found a deficiency, open the compliance case, and then we send you a deficiency letter. If you send us the correction after you receive the deficiency letter, the FDA officer reviews the data and closes the case if the deficiency is addressed. In the second case, after you receive the deficiency letter, if you do not take any actions within 30 days after receiving the deficiency letter, we remove the data from our public site, which include NDC directory for your drug listing data, and it includes the drug establishment current registration site for your registration data. We send you an email notifying you about that data removal. Sometimes people take action after they see that data removal notification. We review the data if you send us the correction, and we close the case, and the data is then released back for publication into those public sites. In the third scenario, the deficiency letter is sent. No actions are taken after 30 days of the receipt of the deficiency letter. The data is removed from the public sites, and still no actions are taken after receiving the email notification about the data removal. That is when we enter the third phase of the compliance program, which is issuing an untitled letter, warning letter, or data inactivation, or a combination of these, depending on the severity of the case. If you make corrections, then we review and correct, review the data and close the case if the data is correct. We issue a closeout letter. We reactivate the inactivated data, and we release it back for publication to the public sites. In this slide and next, we look at the current registration and listing data in our database. In this one, you see that we have over 155,000 currently listed drugs with us. It means they are in active and certified status. As you can see, the major part of it is human OTC and then human prescription drugs. We have about 15,600 bulk ingredients listed with us. And then in smaller numbers, drugs for further processing, biologics, and animal drugs. As our registration data shows, we mostly have manufacturers and API manufacturers currently registered with us. We currently have about 13,500 establishments in our database, and if you add up these different business operations, it clearly adds up to more than that total number. And the reason is that some establishments are engaged in different manufacturing activities, and therefore on their registration SPL, they identify with multiple business operations. So as you see, we deal with a very large amount of data. It is impossible for us to go through each and every submission that we receive on a daily basis to assure their completeness and accuracy. And our automated validation rules cannot stop every error that is introduced into the system. As a result, we have to have a risk-based approach with the main goal of public health and patient safety. We cooperate very closely with some government agencies and also receive tips from healthcare providers that find some inaccuracy in our public databases, which really helps us with our surveillance projects. And we have to focus on large projects, which contain a big number of product or active ingredients or certain business types, and sometimes FDA actions and initiatives and directives assist us in creating those compliance projects. Our compliance projects address listing deficiencies, registration deficiencies, and labeler code deficiencies. Some of the more recent projects that we have been working on include annual January and July drug listing and activation project, U.S. agent project. These two are going to be discussed later in separate presentations later this afternoon. The alcohol-based hand sanitizers project focused on strength conversion of alcohol in those drug listing submissions to FDA, which can be a little bit tricky. The chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine labeling project addressed the outdated labeling for those products, which lacked major safety information in reference to drug-drug interactions and major side effects. For the labeler code and activation project, we worked on labeler codes that were not assigned by FDA and all drug listings that were submitted under that labeler code, which went through inactivation eventually. You might ask why I need to learn about the compliance program or pay attention to all these different communications from FDA. And the answer would be not only you are required by law to comply with the registration and listing requirements, you also may be avoiding some negative impacts on your business. For example, if you are a foreign entity that import drugs into U.S. for commercial distribution, although we don't make admissibility decisions, the registration and listing data is used by FDA agents at the point of entry to make those decisions. A drug that is not in a good listing status or a registration that is not current and it's not accurate might actually cause at a minimum disruption or a delay in the release of the product. In addition, you might face some reimbursement issues when your drug listing data is inactivated because the inactivation date is transmitted to the NSDE file, which is used by CMS and possibly other payers to make those reimbursement decisions. The labeling removal from Daily Med is not a good thing because the healthcare providers may not even know that your product exists in the market if it's removed from Daily Med. And in addition, it can adversely affect your business because if I'm a private label distributor that is trying to find a contract manufacturer to manufacture a product on my behalf, I might start looking for other options if I find an open warning letter on FDA's website against the company. And most importantly, as I mentioned, our number one goal is patient access and patient safety, which might be adversely affected as a result of a bad data. I have included some useful tips here for your reference, and the number one would be to hire the right people. Whether if you take care of your registration and listing submissions in-house or outsource it to outside companies and vendors, make sure that people that take care of those submissions are knowledgeable about registration and listing requirements. We have these annual workshops. They're free of charge. There are also other trainings and presentations available online. Make sure you attend those to learn about the current requirements and sometimes even learn about upcoming requirements for registration and listing. Submit the complete and accurate data the first time around. This will save you a ton of time because you are avoiding any error messages, any revisions that you have to submit as a result. Sometimes the manual override process, which can be very lengthy and time-consuming because it involves many steps and different offices to remediate. And you can avoid our deficiency letters and compliance cases altogether. Another good one would be to review the registration and labeler code SPLs in terms of updated contact information. In a lot of cases, we see that although the registration SPL gets updated because of the annual requirements, the labeler code SPL sometimes is missed. They are not reviewed as consistently, and the labeler contact can be outdated. And our compliance cases will move forward regardless of if we can reach you through that contact information or not. Because in addition to having a certain registration or listing violation, now you have an outdated information for your registration or labeler code SPL. Also, don't ignore our deficiency letters. As you saw, you can close the case as soon as you receive the deficiency letter and save yourself a lot of time and effort. Here you have a link to our registration and listing compliance page, which includes a link to the drug listing and activation Federal Register, the strength conversion and drug listing, and also CDER's application of the USB salt policy, which may be helpful in creating your drug listing SPLs. As a reminder, the power is yours. If you take action quickly, once you receive our deficiency letters, you can stop the compliance case from progressing into a data removal, into warning letters, untitled letters, or data inactivation. Thank you for your time and attention.